Here we are with another Warzone shotgun video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the two newest contenders we have for the best shotgun in Warzone, the Gallo and the Streetsweeper. Now, just as a heads up, this is going to be a long video and there's going to be a lot of information, so buckle up, and this is actually going to be part 1 out of 2, which I'll get into a little bit later in the video. But with this particular one, I wanted to compare these two shotguns and compare them to a few other shotguns we have in the game to see if they can compare with their respective Modern Warfare counterparts, so the Jak12 and the Origin 12, and then we'll compare them together as well. The goal is to see which shotgun of the two you should be using, which one is best for what scenario, and just an overall guide looking at the two. I know I've done something similar in the past, but I haven't actually put the Streetsweeper and the Gallo side by side, so I want to go ahead and do that with this particular video. And I can tell you right off the bat, they both definitely have the opportunity to be a meta shotgun in Warzone, just like the Origin used to be. Now, I'm not saying they're as strong as that was, but compared to other shotguns around like the Hauer, the 680, the VLK Rogue and all that, these guns just usually come out on top for their ease of use and their consistent damage. I know it's sad to hear, but guns like the 680 and the Hauer, unless they start one-tapping people up close, they just don't really have that much of a place compared to these other shotguns. So as the LA Beast would say,
without further ado,
let's get into the stats. First off, let's check out the damage and the time to kill stuff, as that's usually what people want to hear. The Gallo up close and its max damage range will always take at least 3 shots against a fully armored player. This goes not just for the Gallo, but for the Streetsweeper as well, and actually for the Jak12 and the Origin too. So all these shotguns take 3 shots to kill up close no matter what. Now, all of these guns have different ranges, so I'll be looking at the max damage range as well as the next damage range, which happens to be the range that you can get a 3-shot kill up to. After that, each of these guns will take 4 or 5 shots to kill, so we'll be looking at these two range values mostly. For the base Gallo with no attachments, the max damage range is about 4.5 meters, and it can 3-shot up to about 8.2. What this means is so long as most pellets hit, you can deal enough damage up to 8.2 meters to kill an enemy in 3 shots. Looking at its counterpart, the Origin 12, its max damage only goes up to 4.1 meters, and its 3-shot is only up to 7.5 meters. That's not really a huge difference, but the Gallo is actually better at range. The other factor we need to consider here is the rate of fire, and with the Gallo and the Origin 12, they have an identical fire rate of about 232 rounds per minute, and this gives you a time to kill of about 517 milliseconds for 3 shots. So while the time to kill is no different here, the Gallo can do this up to a longer range, so really it's already a clear winner. But with these Cold War shotguns, we have the introduction of 2 barrels to increase the rate of fire, and one of them does rate of fire as well as damage range, which is the reinforced heavy barrel. And then we also have the Ember sighting point laser, which increases range, so we'll look at these attachments together. The Gallo with this barrel and the Ember sighting point give the Gallo a max damage range of 5.6 meters and a 3-shot of up to 10.2 meters. This is a 24% increase, but of course we have that rate of fire boost as well, which takes it from 232 rounds per minute to 266 rounds per minute, which is about 15% faster. Now, getting a range increase along with a rate of fire increase is just downright dirty, and it shows. This is pretty amazing, and in case you're curious, the Origin 12 with its attachments can get close to that range, but it never exceeds the Gallo's max 3-shot range, so it never does ever become stronger with its impaler barrel and the choke, for example. Of course, if you want the most range and no extra fire rate, you can use the Ranger barrel instead with the Ember sighting point, which takes the max range up to 6.4 meters and the 3-shot up to 11.6 meters. The choice is up to you, but having that faster rate of fire up close is really strong, and it will take your time to kill up close from 517 milliseconds to 451 milliseconds. After this 3-shot range, the Gallo takes 4 shots, and its time to kill jumps up to 776 milliseconds for the base rate of fire and 677 for the faster rate of fire. So the Gallo beats the Origin in damage and range and fire rate, of course. Now, yeah, it does have a smaller mag size and a longer reload, but the pros here are outweighing the cons, to me at least. Now, let's check out the Streetsweeper versus the Jak12, and then the Streetsweeper versus the Gallo. The base Streetsweeper has a max damage range of 3.4 meters and a max 3-shot range of about 7.1 meters. The Jak12 also has this 3.4 and 7.1 meter range, and they have the same fire rate rate of 300 rounds per minute. It's basically identical. So these two shotguns are even more similar than the Origin and the Gallo 12 are compared to each other. The time to kill for these guns is sitting at about 400 milliseconds, which, if you noticed, is faster than the Gallo and the Origin, but we'll look at that again soon. With the Streetsweeper getting its faster rate of fire and extra range, it gets a max damage range of 4.2 meters and a max 3-shot range of 8.8 meters, and this is with the reinforced heavy barrel and the ember sighting point. This is not bad, and the rate of fire goes up to 327 rounds per minute, and you will instantly notice this. It's pretty easy to notice. It's the fastest shotgun in the game, and it can wreck your shit. With the Ranger barrel, again, you get more range overall, but I love that fast rate of fire personally, and I usually recommend it. The Jak12, with all its range and attachments, gets basically the same ranges as the Streetsweeper with its max range attachments, so the ember sighting point with the Ranger barrel. So while it's better at range than using the reinforced heavy barrel on the Streetsweeper, that rate of fire and extra range are just too good to avoid, in my opinion, for most scenarios, and I usually always recommend running them for shotgun range engagements. Also, I want to note that the Jak12 does have Dragon's Breath, which is really nice, but it's bad at range and it only has 8 shots, and plus EOD is a thing, which it's pretty bad for a gun like this to only have 8 shots, so while it's nice for one-on-one engagements, maybe in solos, I really wouldn't recommend Dragon's Breath on the Jak12 for anything besides a solo player. So we've looked at the two shotguns and their counterparts, and really they both kind of outperform the others because of that rate of fire and range that they get. The Gallo is just better than the Origin, and the Jak12 and Streetsweeper are pretty close, but the Streetsweeper, again, in the end, wins in my book because of the faster fire rate with the reinforced heavy barrel. Now, the elephant in the room is with these guns, they load shells individually, one by one, as opposed to magazines like the Origin and the Jak12, and while that is important in some games, most of the time, you can kind of make it work if you play smart and if you have some cover available to use. It's definitely a learning curve, learning when to reload with them, but it's not incredibly difficult, especially if these are kind of backup weapons for most people, and if you play duos, trios, or quads, you can always have a teammate to back you up as you're reloading. But now, I want to compare the Gallo with the Streetsweeper. Which of these shotguns takes the cake as the new contender for the best shotgun in Warzone? So side by side, let's look at the ranges. Now the base ranges for each, you'll see that the Gallo wins, but the thing to note here is, again, the Streetsweeper has a big up on the Gallo with its rate of fire. When we stack that reinforced heavy barrel on, the rate of fire for the Streetsweeper is 61 rounds faster than the Gallo, and it's something you can easily feel when you play with them both. And since they both take 3 shots to kill, the Streetsweeper does win over the Gallo in this department. The Gallo has more range and power over range, but the Streetsweeper melts up close faster than the Gallo, but not by that much more, especially considering you are bound to miss some pellets or hit a little off center at times. So with this info, you'd probably say that the Streetsweeper is the best of the two so far with a faster time to kill. Also, it has 18 rounds with the extended mag attachment, and the Gallo only gets up to 12. But hold on, because there's still more to look at with these two guns. First off, what happens after that initial 3-shot kill range? With the Gallo, it starts to kill in 4 shots after that 8.2 base max 3-shot range. Again, as a reminder, the base 3-shot for the Streetsweeper was only at about 7.1. Once that 7.1 meters is passed, the Streetsweeper will start to take not 4, but 5 shots to kill. I checked a few times and I was consistently getting 5-shot kills after this point. And remember, that's if most pellets hit. And since it's fully auto, it's a bit harder to control than the Gallo and its semi-auto nature. Now, if we take a look at our time to kill with the base guns at this range, meaning the range after its 3-shot range, the Gallo can kill in 776 milliseconds, and the Streetsweeper will take 800 milliseconds. So you can kind of see what's going on, right? Up close, you're getting the Streetsweeper to be just a bit more dominant, but to a lesser range, and then it has a steep damage drop-off, whereas the Gallo consistently puts out damage at range, and even though the Streetsweeper has a faster time to kill here, once you hit past its second damage range, the Gallo has a faster time to kill. It's kind of weird, huh? I know that's a lot of numbers, and you've probably heard the word range more times than you wanted to, but it was important to show because the real downside to the Streetsweeper is that lack of power at range, especially compared to the Gallo. One other advantage the Gallo has is its reload time, and yeah, it only has 12 shells, so technically it won't naturally take as long as the Streetsweeper's 18 shells, but each shell in the Gallo is loaded slightly faster at around 840 milliseconds per shell, whereas the Streetsweeper is at about 960 milliseconds per shell, which is basically a second. So with the Gallo, you can technically get into the action after reloading much quicker, which is a godsend overall. The Streetsweeper reload time is just downright disgusting, and I mean that in a bad way. One other thing I wanted to mention is that the Streetsweeper has a more condensed pellet spread than the Gallo. This could be a good thing, it could really be a bad thing. Now the Gallo has a noticeably larger spread, and I honestly found this strange, but this means that you can hit more targets with the Gallo if they're side by side, but the Streetsweeper is more condensed and therefore should be getting more pellets on target. So let's summarize. The Gallo is better than the Origin. The Streetsweeper is better than the Jak12 now in my opinion. In comparing the Gallo and the Streetsweeper, while the Streetsweeper up close can kill faster, the Gallo has a more consistent output at range, better ranges than the Streetsweeper, and it has a faster time to load shells. So which one is better? Well, to be honest, if you want the statistically better gun up close for, shotgunning, the Streetsweeper is a force to be reckoned with. The problem is that it loses range so quickly that once you hit past 8 meters or so, I'd rather have the Gallo with me. So even though the Streetsweeper is technically a faster killing shotgun, I prefer the Gallo because it has a more consistent output at range, it's easier to control compared to the full auto nature of the Streetsweeper, and it has a wider spread to hit more people, which could be a bad thing really, but in Warzone it seems to help, and also on top of that, it reloads a little bit quicker. So ideally in Warzone, I want my shotgun to be super good up close, naturally, but I also want it to be able to carry range as well if it can. So because of the versatility of it, my vote for the Warzone shotgun meta contender is the Gallo SA12 semi-auto shotgun. Now this may ruffle some feathers, but I find myself just doing better overall with the Gallo than the Streetsweeper most times I use it. The range is just too nice, and it does shoot slower than the Streetsweeper, but I'm much more comfortable with the Gallo in my hands. I don't know, it just feels more at home than the other one. And it's a really close call, but overall, I just have to go with the Gallo. And that is going to be the end of part 1. Now for part 2, which is coming soon, we're going to be looking at the dreaded and the infamous Doof, the R90 with Dragon's Breath. A lot of people are probably wondering if it's been dethroned, is it still the best, and what gun can we use besides that? So we're going to be doing some comparisons with that one in part 2 of this little mini series. So what do you guys think of these two shotguns? Is the Gallo your pick for best shotgun, or is it the Streetsweeper that's your baby? Now make sure to let me know in the comments below. Also be sure to follow me on Twitter, link in the description, and subscribe if you want more shotgun goodness. And with all of that being said, I want to wish you all a happy day/night, and I'll see you in the next video.